Guys, how's it going? Carl here from North Coast Constrictors. I've been getting a couple of questions from various viewers and on snake forums, new breeders, obviously not established breeders. I see a lot of new breeders are reaching out to me based on this channel, especially because I've said that I'm a new breeder. But I mean, I've been doing it for a year now, as most of you know that have been watching this channel. And I've been learning and studying, and so what I've been doing is I've been sharing videos about the mistakes that I made and how I corrected them in my first year of breeding, so that you guys don't make the same mistakes. But then there's a lot of other questions that come up. I get private messages on my Instagram DMs. I get here in South Africa, I'm on group forums, and I get other new breeders texting me privately and asking me certain questions about certain things, and there's quite a lot of them. So one common question that comes up is feeding, and how do we feed, and what size, and do we feed in an enclosure, and I mean there's loads of YouTube channels that about ball python feeding. But that topic has been coming up a lot. So I thought, let me make a video on feeding and the different types of feeding and how to feed from hatchling right up to an adult breeding ball python. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. So whether you've produced your own hatchling or you've bought a hatchling, those hatchlings will, as soon as they come out the egg, they'll all be in an egg box, and they will, approximately 7 days after they've hatched out of the egg, they've come out of the egg, they will have their first shed. Okay, once they've had their first shed, they usually sex them and put them into their individual tubs, holding tubs, juvenile tubs, hatchling tubs. You will then probably wait another day or two after that shed and offer it its first meal, which will be a small hopper or jumper mouse, live. I know some guys go for frozen-thawed right away. It's not in a snake's natural instinct to go frozen-thawed immediately, especially as a hatchling. You can try. There has been success with it. If it's frozen, you defrost obviously the mouse, the hopper or the jumper. Same thing. It's basically a mouse that's now, it's small. Basically its eyes are open, it's got fur, and it's jumping around like a mad thing. That's why they call it a jumper or a hopper. That's the perfect size prey for a ball python hatchling for its first meal, first few meals in fact. So you can defrost it and you put it in warm water, and never far away from me is my trusty heat gun. And then you lay all of the little mice down, and then you temperature check them, and you will offer that mouse to your ball python hatchling when at approximately 38 to 40 degrees Celsius. I'm talking Celsius here in South Africa. Okay, you may struggle a little bit to get it on to eat. Its natural instinct is to go for something that's moving. So you'll shake it around and whatever. Make sure you've dried all the water off. I mean, the fur can be a bit damp for sure, because it hydrates the snake as well. But the last thing you need to do is take a soaking wet mouse, or rat for that matter, straight out of the water and chuck it and offer it with your tongs to the ball python, especially if the ball python is a finicky eater, because usually you towering over the snake and into the tub, and water will now be dripping off the rodent, and a drop of water can splash in the ball python's face, and the ball python gets a fright and retracts and retreats into the corner and doesn't want to eat. Okay, so when I'm feeding frozen-thawed, although it comes from a warm tray of water that's approximately 40 degrees Celsius, I've got paper towel with me, and I dry the rodent off, especially around their head area, and then offer it head first with my tweezers. With my tweezers, basically, if you picture, okay, how am I going to do this? I'll always wing it. These are never edited videos. Okay, let's take this piece of paper here. Okay, let's just say this is a rat or a mouse, close as I can get. Okay, that's the head, that's the tail. Okay, so you kind of grip it behind the shoulder blades like that, or behind the scruff of the neck, and then you offer it to the snake. I'm obviously not going to do this with a rat right now. Okay, offer it to, hang on a second, I'm actually busy defrosting right now as we speak. I didn't even think of that. Okay, so here we go. Here's some paper, and I'm defrosting 2 rats to feed right now. Okay, so you can see that water dripping off there. Okay, not cool. That splashes in the snake's face, and the snake is not stoked. So I'll put it in towel like this, paper towel, and I'll dry off the rodent. Okay, then I've got the rodent. And I take my temperature gun, and then I will take the temperature reading of the rodent. It's right now sitting at 28.4 degrees Celsius, which is too cool. But I've been defrosting these rodents. So what I will do is, now that they're fully defrosted, I will then empty that cold water out, and I will top it up with warm water. And then I will make sure that when this rodent is approximately between 37 degrees and 40 degrees Celsius, no hotter than 40 degrees Celsius, no cooler than 37 degrees Celsius, then I will grab the rodent at the back of the shoulders like that, like so, and then I will put it into the snake's tub. I'll take an empty tub out here. There's no snake in here, okay? But obviously I don't pull the tub out the rack. I'll just slide the rack drawer open, but for the cinematography sake, the snake's at the back. I will wave and shake and kind of make these little movements around the snake's head and face, and then go back and forth, and I'll almost play around the water bowl a little bit like the rat is alive, or mouse, to mimic that it's actually alive. The snake's going to obviously be a bit curious. It's kind of like, instead of hunting live prey, this thing is attached to a big piece of metal and you standing there looking at it. So you can try that and mimic that the rodent is alive, and then as it strikes, it'll usually strike the head. Then what you do is, while it's striking and coiling, and it's coiled up, you still now it's coiled up, I grab the tail of the rodent, and I shake it around for about 10-15 seconds, and that makes the snake coil nicely around the rodent, like as if it was still alive but kind of dying, So and then close the drawer, close the tub, and leave your snake to eat in peace. So one of the questions that came up from another new breeder is, and funny enough, he was actually advised this at a snake expo recently in Joburg, and I don't know who advised him, because it's like it's one of the biggest no-nos in snake feeding and snake breeding that you can get. The person actually said, you must take the snake out the enclosure, put it in another separate enclosure, feed it, and once it's eaten, take it out and put it back into its tub. Guys, absolutely not. That is the absolute wrong thing to do. You must always feed your ball python, your retic, your boa inside its enclosure. Okay, there is a reason for that. Okay, when you feed your snake, the rule of thumb is that you do not touch or pick it up, or handle that snake for a minimum of 24 hours, but preferably 48 hours. This is to prevent the snake from regurgitating. Okay, so what's the first thing you're going to do now? If you take the ball python or the retic or the boa or whatever snake you've got, and you put it in let's say a tub like this, okay, that's completely blank, you put the snake inside, and then you put a rodent inside, and it eats it. Once it's got that rodent in, now you've got to open up, and you've got to take the snake out and handle it and go and put it back into its tub, where the heat is and its water is. there's a chance that that snake can regurgitate. Okay, a lot of pet shops tell guys to do that. No, it's wrong. You do not feed the snake anywhere else but its enclosure. That's it. Okay, that's where it feels safe. That's where the hot spot is, and you don't want to touch it afterwards. Okay, so feeding regimen. You feeding a hatchling, I would say every 4 to 5 days. Okay, once they start taking their meals, a hopper or a jumper mouse every 4 to 5 days. I would say for probably about 2 to 3 weeks, maximum 3 weeks. Okay, and then what I would do from there is I would start offering. I'm talking jumpers, jumper size prey. What I would do then is I would up it to mediums, okay, and then maybe a large fully grown adult mouse. But usually once I've gone from a hopper to one size up, like a medium mouse, I'll try and get that ball python straight onto rats, like a fuzzy rat, okay, which is slightly smaller than a wiener. And the reason why is I try and transition my ball pythons from mice to rats as fast as possible, because if you've got a ball python that becomes a mouser, they're called mousers, they develop a taste for mice. Sometimes they'll never want to eat anything else. And a rat has got so much more nutrition. A rat has got pretty much, and I stand to be corrected, but twice the amount of protein. He's got a bit more fat in it as well. It's a bigger animal. There's just more nutrients in a rat than in a mouse. And not only that, rats get much bigger. Your ball python will grow faster on rats than it will on mice, okay? You will never get the amount of nutrients. If you take two ball pythons identical, both female wild types, and you keep one on mice and you keep one on rats, and you feed them exactly the same feeding regimen, in a year's time, the one on rats will be 2 to 3 times bigger than the one on mice. Okay, and once you've got a ball python accustomed to mice, the chances of getting off mice is almost impossible. There are some snakes that are even advertised as mouses only, and they're small. Ball pythons literally explode in size on rats. There's another option of multis, African soft furs. A lot of breeders swear by African soft furs. The protein content is higher. The multi is smaller. It's like a fully grown multi is probably the same size as a large wiener rat. There's some guys that hate multis and won't feed their snakes multis, but you know, the ball python will grow faster and get bigger on rats than it will on multis. Multis you can feed every 7 to 10 days. They're very, very rich in nutrients and so on and so forth. And also there are apparently their poop doesn't smell as bad. I'm talking about the multis. If you breed your own rodents like I do, you know, with a collection of snakes like I've got to breed my own rodents. However, they are an absolute damn nightmare to breed. They're prolific breeders. They are messy as hell. They are incredibly aggressive. I have been bitten more times by multis than I have by my own snakes. I prefer rats. They breed nicely, they get nice and big. Once a ball python reaches a certain size, a multi is too small for it. Okay, so I get my ball pythons onto rats as fast as possible. I go from a 4 to 5 day as a hatchling to 7 days. I increase the size of the prey. Let's say after about a month or so, I'll increase the size of the prey and I'll try and get it onto rats as fast as possible. And for the better part of, I would probably say maybe another 2 to 3 months, I would probably feed every 5 days, maybe 6 months if they take, you know, and then you can spread it out to every 7 days. Like the rule of thumb is a rodent the same thickness as the thickest part of the ball python that you're feeding. So let's say you have a fully grown adult female that's got a nice girth about this big. You're going to be feeding it a large rat, okay? And let's say you've got a ball python with a girth about that big. You're going to be feeding it a wiener, okay? And that rule of thumb is around about 5 days inside the enclosure. When it comes up to breeding season, females will start smashing food, and because they go off food once they go, their follicles reach a certain size. I think their follicles, once they reach about 25 or 35 millimeters, I'm not sure, they won't have enough room now. But as soon as we started our breeding season now, I've got some females in here that are absolutely smashing food. I did a video a couple of months ago on a female that was sitting at 1100 grams. I've got about 3 of them, and I was going as if they were only planned for 2023. However, these snakes have just grown. There are some snakes that have just genetically, they just grow faster and bigger. And I've got a couple that I was, the bulk of those particular from that clutch that I bought from that breeder, the bulk of them are only going to go in 2023. They're only hovering around the 1000 gram mark, maybe 1100 gram mark. But I'm going to pull out one snake for you now that about 4 months ago was about 1150 grams, okay? And I didn't think that I was going to pair her this season, okay? And I just want to show you this snake now. I'm not going to weigh her because I weighed her the other day. I just don't want to get tagged, okay? Now this is a snake, guys, okay? That's 18 months old, okay? And 4 months ago, I didn't even know if I was going to breed her. And she's going to be a first-year breeder. And she is now weighing 1,800 grams. She just exploded. And if you see the thickness of her body here, I can't even get my fingers around her. She is building properly. Those follicles are coming. She's belly rolling, and she lies in her tub. If you've ever seen them, they lie in their tub and they expose their bellies. They kind of lie on their side like that. Are you pooping on me? I know. Yeah, now this is a blade het lavender albino, 66% het clown, 50% het pied. I have 2 of them. But this one here doesn't have blade, but she's also het lavender albino, het clown, het pied. And she's sitting at 1,500 grams now. She's slightly smaller. They are sisters. The clutch that they came from, and this one didn't get the blade gene, the other one did. Now, these girls were only planned for the 2023 breeding season. Now, there's also that debate about breeding on whether you're going to breed at the age of which you're going to breed. And a year, 18 months or a year, whatever is too old. I don't go on that. I go on weight. As a male does not slither up to a female in the wild and go, hey baby, how much do you weigh? How old are you? Snakes don't talk. A snake is going to lock. The male is going to lock with that female. He's going to try. And if the female is ready to lock, she's going to lock. Okay? If she's not, doesn't want to lock, she's not going to lock with that male. It's as simple as that. Okay? So we as breeders, we'll go 1,500 grams minimum for the female, 600 grams minimum for the male. Personally, I'm a 1,800 gram for the male, for the female, and a 8 or 900 grams minimum for the male. That's just me. I've taken a bit of flack about it. I've had 1 or 2 funny chirp comments, directly, indirectly at me on certain snake forums. Because some people have watched my YouTube channels and I've been quite vocal about not breeding a snake, a male at 500 or 600 grams. The reason for that is that I actually personally know a guy that bought like a 30,000 Rand desert ghost, multi-gene desert ghost male. He bred it at 6 months old. It was about 600 grams. The snake locked. It was producing sperm plugs. But the snake, it took too much out of that boy because he went off food, and 3 months later he lost that snake and it died. Okay? To lose a 30,000, I'm talking in rands here, that's our currency in South Africa. You want to lose, you buy a snake and 6 months later you pair it, and 3 months later the snake is dead because you paired him too soon and you couldn't wait 1 more year. That's going to sting. Okay? So I've got first year breeding males that are coming up now. Not one of the males that I'm pairing up are under 800 grams. Every single male is 800 grams or above. Every single female that I'm breeding now is 1,500 grams or above, but closer to 1,800 grams. These are the only 2 that are under 2,000 grams, except for, I beg your pardon, I've got 2 pastel bamboo 100% het desert ghosts. They went off food about a month ago and they're sitting under the 1,500 gram mark. And what I did is I introduced a male to each of these females only to trigger off a feeding response. That's it, nothing else. Then they did one locked up for sure. But what it does is, as I say, in the wild, a male doesn't go up to a female and ask it how much it weighs and how old it is. Okay, if the female is going to lock, it's going to lock. Usually what happens if you've got a bull python, a female especially, that has gone off food and you're desperately trying to get it ready for breeding season, and it's like 200-300 grams shy of what you would like it to weigh, introducing a male to it will trigger off a feeding response. Okay, I've got a beautiful male visual desert ghost male, and I need to make my season this year. I'm hoping to make visual desert ghost offspring, and then I did my last video on another desert ghost male that I bought that's got multi genes in. Okay, but that's planned for next year. I mean, that snake a lot more than 30,000 Rand, and I'm going to be breeding him next year when he's around about the 1,000 gram mark. So that's going back to feeding now. Now these females here, if I offer them food now that we're going into our breeding season, I find that these snakes are eating every 4 to 5 days. And they are smashing. The pheromones in this room are going crazy. The males are on that side, the females are on that side. I've got these air vents in the front here. They can smell each other. Lovers in the air. I'm dropping the temperatures at night so the follicles are growing, and then I'm raising the temperature during the day. I'm doing that with the males so that the sperm production goes up. But what I'm doing is to get back to feeding. Your feeding regimen changes now when you're approaching the ball python breeding season. You want your female to have as much weight on her as possible because she is going to go off food for a good few months. Whether it's 4 months or 6 months or 8 months, you don't know. But there's going to reach a point where she's not going to eat. And she's going to be growing eggs inside her, and she is not going to have space for food. Okay? So I know there's this term called power feeding, and it's frowned upon. Guys, a snake is going to eat if it wants to eat. And if you've got a female ball python that wants to eat, feed the snake. Okay? Feed her. Because if she doesn't want to eat the rat, she's not going to eat the rat. Ball pythons are notorious for going off food. Okay, and when they're full, they are full, and you can offer what you want on a silver platter. They are not going to eat it. Okay, so there's only X amount of months in the year that you've got to get a female up to size in the second year. Okay, so from 6 months onwards, you know, whenever that snake wants to eat, if you can see it's interested in food, like usually up to 6 months, every 7 days, every 7 days, every 7 days, that's fine. You know, as a hatchling, every 4 to 5 days, but when they start reaching 3-4 months old, up to 6 months, you know, like every 7 days, every 7 days. But then once the snake's gonna be like 6, 7, 8 months old, and you know, hey, you know, next year I could actually breed this snake, and they want to take food every 5 days, and you can feed it one big meal, and then like 3 days later feed it a slightly smaller prey. Do that. Because that snake is building, and the snake wants to eat. It's actively looking for food. You can't force feed a snake. Ball pythons, like, you know, like guys do dances around their snake room if a snake has gone off food and it eats. I know that every time I feed a snake that I'm wanting to breed, and I've got these racks full of snakes, every time one of my snakes takes a rat on feeding day, I'm absolutely relieved and joyous, because a snake that is eating is a healthy snake and a snake that's going to breed. And I know that it's just a matter of time, because I start introducing males now. The only male that I've introduced is to the 2 het desert ghosts, because they are off food. Something's happened. They were smashing in the beginning and they went off food and they're not up to the weight that I want them. But if you put a male in with them, it triggers off a feeding response. So I've got 6 months to work on these snakes still, these females, okay? So I've introduced a male, I let the male in for 24 hours with each female, and then I took them out. Tonight, I'm gonna offer them a meal and see what happens. Maybe that introduction to the male has now triggered something off primal in its genetic DNA, that, oh, it's winter, it's cold, temperatures are dropping, a male has just come up to me, I need to eat, I need to build follicles, because already when I open up the tubs, they're belly rolling, you know. I open up the tubs now and they lying with their bellies exposed, which means they that's what they do when they want to breed. So, but their follicles have got to reach a certain size before they can be inseminated with sperm and be fertilized. So that snake is going to go when it wants to go. So I will offer that snake, especially the females, until they go off food and they decide that's it, I've had enough, and the same goes for the males. The males will also go off food during breeding season, and it takes a lot out of them, especially when you're taking one male and you're pairing it up to 5 or 6 females once a week. I pair once a week, but that's already in a video that I've done before. So guys, basically what I was trying to go back to the beginning of this video for the new breeders out there: no, do not take your ball python out of its tub and feed it in another enclosure, then pick it up and put it back in its tub. Feed your ball python in the enclosure. Feed a ball python, a rodent, roughly the same, no bigger, but the same or slightly smaller than the thickest part of its girth, okay? Do that for the hatchling every 5 or so days. After a while, and it gets bigger and so on and so forth, then you can do it every 7 days. If the snake wants to eat every 5 days, feed it every 5 days. If your snake doesn't want to eat, wait a week and offer it. Some snakes of mine here will eat only every 10 days. Some snakes of mine only eat every 7 days. Some snakes say if I offer it food every 2nd day, it'll take a rat. You will get to know your snakes. I have got 120 plus ball pythons in this room. I've got ball retics, I've got dumerals, boas, and I know each and every single one of these snakes and their feeding habits off by heart. I know which ones I can offer, I know when I can offer them, and I know when to wait. Because if you offer and you carry on, repeat offering food too soon, if you don't wait it, if a snake refuses a meal and you offer it within 7 days again, it's probably going to refuse that meal again. I offer. If it doesn't take, I leave it for 7 days. If I offer again after 7 days and it refuses and it doesn't eat again, I'll wait 10 days before I offer it again. If it refuses a second time, I'll wait 2 weeks. Okay? And then if it usually will take after about 2 weeks, okay, and I'll reduce the size of the prey to, like, let's say it's a fully grown adult ball python, I'll reduce the size of the prey from a medium rat down to a wiener. Now we get up to breeding season. Your snakes are smashing, but they're building up follicles and you still want them to keep on the weight. I start reducing the size of the prey. Out of season, these snakes are on either fully grown adult large rats or medium-sized rats. As the follicles are growing and as the follicles are getting bigger in the snake, and you can see the snake building, you can see them belly rolling, you can see them ball wrapping, the area inside the stomach starts to get smaller. And what I do now is all my breeding females now that have gone from large and medium rats, I am now feeding them weaners, okay? Because some of them refused. I put a rat inside there and they refused. And that's a telltale sign. I mean, these snakes were smashing like a month ago. And I noticed, oh, well, this one hasn't eaten for a week, or this one hasn't eaten for 2 weeks. That's crazy. They were eating every 5 days. And then I was like, idiot, man, they're building follicles. Come on, man, it's coming up to breeding season. offer them a smaller rodent. And that's exactly what I did. I threw a wiener in there, boom, they're all hitting again because they want the food. They need to build up, but they're not stupid. They know that there's not enough space. So they will reject anything that's too big. So you still offer, but you offer smaller. And then eventually you'll throw something inside there and then it's just game over. It's not going to eat and that's it. And then you wait and you're pairing up and you follow your breeding process. And then once she's laid her eggs and you've taken the eggs out of there, you put them in the incubator, you put her in a nice fresh tub, you wait about 5 to 7 days, and then you offer her a smaller rodent than what she used to be on. So if she's a fully grown ball python and she was on medium rats, offer her like a wiener, a small wiener, just to get the taste back. And usually some of them start smashing straight away, some of them will maybe take 2 weeks, and then slowly, you know, they haven't eaten for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and they get that feeling back into their stomach, that instinct kicks back in again, and then you up the prey size, because you obviously want to get that girl back on food as fast as possible, because you want to breed her the following season. And if she's already given you a clutch of eggs, and you know, she's not up to weight, she's not going to give you a clutch of eggs. I'm going to pull out a classic example here of a girl that gave 9 eggs last year. 9 eggs in her breeding season last year, and she is a pastel 100% heteroxanthic VPR, and she is, look at the size of her already. Okay, this is nearly 3,000 grams, this girl. Okay, and she just went straight back onto food straight away. 9 eggs and she's already this size, so she is most definitely going to be I just need to clean her tub as well. She is going she is definitely getting paired up this year. She's ready to breed. She's taken enough rats. She's up to size, and some guys will miss a season because their snake is not up to size, and they'll have to wait the following year. She's one of those snakes that went back onto food straight away, and she's up 3,000 grams. So guys, that's it. I hope I haven't missed anything out. I think I covered most of the important parts there about feeding. Generally, as I say, the rule of thumb, every 7 days, the same size. But you know, if your snake wants to eat every 5 days, feed it every 5 days. If it only eats every 10 days, offer it every 10 days. Boom, end of story. And that's it, guys. If you've got any questions or any comments, or hey, how you do things and what works for you, you know, each breed is different. Please feel free to drop a comment below. Please also like and subscribe to this channel if you like the content, and I hope this information that I've given you has helped some of you new breeders out there. And if you're South African or in the Southern Hemisphere and you're going into your ball python breeding season and you're into it, guys, good luck with your season. I wish you all the best of luck, and I hope the odds are with you and that you smash the season and you get all wonderful hatchlings. And yeah, from North Coast Constrictors, over and out until the next video.